Well, hello and welcome to the Core of the Bible podcast. My name is Steve, and I'll be your host as we explore the very essence of biblical practice, or, as I like to say, the message of the Bible reduced to its simplest form. In this introductory episode, I thought I would share a little bit about me and also why I'm creating this podcast. As for the why, my desire has always been to find a way to boil all of the complexity of the Bible down to its basic form, not to minimize any of its intricacies, but to provide a concentrated standard or a practical guide for living. It's my hope that this information here at coreofthebible.org will do just that. Now, as for me, I reside in the northwestern U.S., and I have a wife and a family of 4 children, and they're almost all grown now. We still have a teenager at home. But I have been raised in my life with a biblical worldview and have been on a journey of Bible study for over 35 years as an adult. I've been drawn into the studies of the Greek and the Hebrew original languages of the Bible, and I am also fascinated by the ancient Near Eastern literature that provided the context and the culture that the Bible books were sprouted from. So the basic premise of this podcast is that I believe the core message of the Bible is encapsulated in 7 principles that were related by Yeshua, or Jesus, in what has come to be known as the Sermon on the Mount. Now, these 7 principles are as follows: kingdom, integrity, vigilance, holiness, trust, forgiveness, and compassion. And it's my belief that all of God's expectations for human conduct can be summed up in these 7 principles. Additionally, nested within the first principle of the kingdom is a list of what I've come to call the 12 commandments. Now, of course, while you may be familiar with the 10 commandments, it's important to recognize that Yeshua, or Jesus, summarized the 10 commandments by highlighting 2 other commandments from the Torah, specifically to love Yahweh your God with all of your heart, soul, and mind, and to love your neighbor as yourself. So, taken all together, I believe these 12 commandments are the basis of the kingdom principle, or what I've come to call the kingdom charter. These 12 commandments are kind of a constitution, as it were, of God's kingdom here on earth, and actually embody the 7 principles of the Sermon on the Mount mentioned previously. So before I confuse you further, this is all laid out in plain fashion over at coreofthebible.org, so you can look through and understand the structure of these basic premises. I think it'll make a lot more sense when you see it laid out there and you can view it and look at all the different parameters. I tried to keep it as simple as possible. All right, so you may be wondering why I keep referring to Jesus by his Hebrew name of Yeshua. Well, in learning about the Hebrew language and culture, it's readily apparent that Hebrew names have significance. I mean, even in English, many people like to find out the root meaning of their names based on its etymology or how it came to be. Perhaps you've even done this yourself to see how your name might have originally been based in some root form in a foreign language. It's the same principle with the name of Jesus. Jesus is the English version of the Greek name Jesus, which in itself is a version of the Hebrew name Yeshua. However, if we were to take the name Yeshua and bring it straight over into English, it would not be Jesus, but it would be Joshua. So technically, in English, we should be calling him Joshua of Nazareth. I know that sounds kind of weird, but the name Jesus in English has become simply an identifier of an individual, whereas the name Yeshua in Hebrew is not only a personal identifier or name, but it also carries the meaning behind the name. And in this case, the name Yeshua means salvation or deliverance. In fact, there are occasions in the Hebrew text where the word is used for just that purpose. It's not even naming an individual, it's just talking about salvation or deliverance in general. So for me, that carries great weight. And Yeshua was the name that Mary and Joseph were commanded to name him, and I believe we should be using it as well. That name was given to him to demonstrate his purpose, and I think we should always keep that purpose that God has in mind. Now, I'm not dogmatic that everybody call him Yeshua. If you want to call him Jesus, that's just fine, but this is just some of my reasoning behind doing so. At any rate, these types of technicalities are what can make the Bible's so confusing for so many people, and why I believe it's important to really do our best to just focus on the essentials or the core teachings of the Bible. And I've just related this here in the interest of full disclosure to make sure you understood some of my reasonings behind the use of this term Yeshua on this podcast. So, at any rate, there you have it. In summarizing this little introduction, the core of the Bible consists of the 7 principles of kingdom, integrity, vigilance, holiness, trust, forgiveness, and compassion. And it's my hope that you'll continue to review with me these aspects of human expression that I believe God expects of all people. So be sure to visit coreofthebible.org to join the conversation, and access show notes, and to find free downloadable resources regarding the message of the Bible reduced to its simplest form. So thanks for your interest in listening today. I hope this little brief introduction helps you understand a little bit about the podcast, and I hope to be invited back into your headphones in another episode to come. Take care.